the senator, while indoctrinated, could not explain his toxicity.
You should not listen to men's rights advocates if you want to know what they have to say.
Good evening, motherfuckers. Welcome to HBR News 141, where your favorite badgers ferret out the best feels, funnies, and what the fucks to discuss Slam Bam Badger style. Thank you, ma'am. Stay a while. Buckle your seatbelts, make sure you're strapped in tight, and make sure any self-terminating devices are at least 20 yards away in a moderately expensive lockbox. If you don't own one, refer to a link in the description that will take you to a list of safes you can buy on eBay for pretty cheap. If any of you actually went to check the description after I said that, please rethink every choice you have made in your life up until this point. Today's HBR News panel consists of Hannah Wallen, Pussycat Punisher and Punster, in that she will often say that if you're ever driving through swamp country, you'll often see swamps going by you. Dr. Random McCam, Panda, long-range rhetorician, and People Magazine's Sexiest Brit Alive 2017.
Word.
And I am your host, Max Derritt, Simpsons kin, and definitely not Six from Little Nightmares. I'm more like one of those fat cannibals you see in that game. Anyways, today we will be discussing the following topics. So, you remember when we collectively warned feminists everywhere that women have the capacity to lie, even when it comes to the terrible issue of rape? Remember when we said that 2% of all allegations are false? That statistic, that wasn't true? Pepperidge Farm remembers. A BBC reporter, of all people, decided to point out how the Me Too movement, hashtag, while no doubt beneficial in some respects, must address the fact that all any woman has to do is make an accusation and somebody's life is ruined. You don't think it's gotten that bad? I just read on Twitter that Stan Lee has been accused of sexual misconduct, and I do not believe that is the case. That guy has to be like the nicest man on the planet. But anyways, court of law, all that bullshit. The Consumer Electronics Show has no female speakers this year. Is it sexism? The answer is no, but if you say that, you're a biological essentialist / Nazi. Yet we here at Honey Badger Radio will continue to argue based on the established science, and the people in charge will never, ever, 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 ever listen. Ever. A writer for Bloomberg, Kathy O'Neill, believes that a male sex bot would be the perfect graduation gift for her daughter, because at least then the robot would protect the house and wash the dishes, and maybe perform better sexually than the average man. No, I'm not joking. She actually said this. I'll tell you what, Kathy, it sounds like satisfying you sexually would be like trying to stick your dick through a Cheerio. And to your husband, we invite you to blink 3 times in a row if you are in distress. Or just send HBR an email, whatever. And finally, our bonus story for the patron-only after show. The Golden Globes were on... Shit, I just nearly knocked over my keyboard. The Golden Globes were on last Sunday. And we will... See, I tend to gesticulate when I'm talking, even though nobody can see me. So we'll be discussing just how irrelevant the Golden Globes really are. And I'm not just talking about the fact that the show could also double for the virtue signaling Olympics. I mean that their voting system, compared to all the other awards bodies, make them an absolute joke. We'll be discussing that, as well as the possibility of Oprah 2020 in the after show. Anyway, if you would like to participate in our after shows, either as an audience member or a participant, please consider becoming a patron by going to www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio. Anyways, that's about all the housekeeping that is being taken care of. Oh, yeah, the Doge in charge, Brian, he's still not here. He will be back soon, ladies and gentlemen. He's just recovering from a very serious surgery. Obviously, I'm sure that we've addressed this for the last couple of weeks that I haven't been here, but I'll just say it. My thoughts go out to him and obviously everybody else here at Honey Badger Radio. If you follow him on Twitter, make sure to wish him a get well message. I can't fucking talk today. You get the gist. Anyways, let's go to the first story. It's called the incoming / Me Too Boomerang, and very many thanks to Stapler for writing this for us. Catty K. That's her name, Catty K. That's great. A BBC presenter warns women the more the hashtag Me Too movement turns into a witch hunt, the more likely there will be backlash. Kay highlights false accusations as the main potential boomerang, which may ultimately place suspicion on genuine rape accusers. She cautions, quote, whether for personal vindictive reasons or for political strategic reasons, a woman will falsely accuse a high-profile man of sexual misconduct. The story will get attention, and then when it's proven to be fake, the backlash will begin. The second fear Kay covers is one I personally think was already happening, that men will be so nervous of being accused of harassment, they will be avoidant of hiring female employees or working closely with female coworkers. Our inability to measure this impact is limited partially because our collective inability to see women's agency and capacity to victimize men. However, perhaps a backlash to the hashtag #MeToo movement will offer some much-needed light on this. But then again, if not for men being falsely accused, constantly walking on eggshells and feeling uncomfortable at work, then for the poor women who feel hindered as professionals because of mass adoption of the quote-unquote Pence rule. Kay thinks that women's stories of harassment should be believed, but should also withstand scrutiny. Being rather woke for a BBC presenter, she summarizes that, quote, the backlash fear here is that if all cases of bad behavior are treated equally, this could quickly become a vendetta in which lots and lots of men are implicated and punished. Men will be seen as the bad guys simply for the crime of being male. Now, Hannah, I just have one question to ask you. Have we not been warning about this forever?
Oh, yeah, we have. And in fact, we have not only warned about this, but we have also talked about the way this relates to the men going their own way movement. And this is something that feminists actually, I've had feminists get offended with me for talking about this. I've said repeatedly, men do not owe you their attention. They don't owe you their regard, and they don't owe you their automatic respect. And if women teach men that women en masse are liars, thieves, and cheats, how can you possibly expect any kind of respect? It's not deserved automatically just for being a woman. And you can actually teach men the opposite, that mistrust and disrespect is deserved automatically just for being a woman. And you can set it up so that all women everywhere have to work harder to prove themselves. And that is what women are doing today with this Me Too thing. It started out with possibly the best of intentions. It started out with the idea of drawing attention to the fact that there is sexual misconduct. And then they decided to ignore male victims of sexual misconduct. They decided to ignore female sexual misconduct. And they ran right over Hollywood's child sexual exploitation problem. And like, they won't even talk about that. It's all
where's
about
Corey Feldman in all this?
Well, quite completely ignored. Like, he's had some modern or moderate media attention, and he's gotten the police to actually talk to him and work with him. But the Me Too movement, not a word, not a peep, no support whatsoever. Like those bitches are too busy, literally, not just figuratively as Allison had originally presented, but literally wearing their victimhood as ball gowns. Like, we're all going to wear black to this self-aggrandizing party just to draw more attention to female victimhood. How can you be so solipsistic and out of touch as to think that does a damn thing? And yet there they are, parading around in black ball gowns, literally wearing their victimhood, not figuratively anymore, but literally wearing their victimhood as a fashion statement.
We are, of course, talking about the Golden Globes that took place last Sunday, more of which we'll talk about on the after show. But yeah, Hannah, did you see that? I can't remember who wore it, but it was some woman wearing like a skirt and a sweater, and the sweater said "Poverty is sexist."
Oh yeah. The what was it, like $380 sweater that
is that
everybody
true?
else to help with poverty. But and the story behind it is claiming that poverty is sexist against women, because a quarter of the homeless, 1/4 of the homeless are women. That's a strange way. It's pointed out several times by several people online. That's a strange way of saying 75% of homeless people are men. And 95% of unsheltered homeless are men. So that's the other thing. Homeless shelters preference women. They give women preferential treatment two different ways. Women with children are given top preferential treatment. Women without children are still given preferential treatment over men. So it's very shameful to say that poverty is sexist against women. It impacts men harder in every measure of poverty there is, because we fight tooth and nail to provide for impoverished women, especially if they have custody of children. And we always have. We even make men homeless as a society to pay women who are living in a state of poverty to not leave that state of poverty. So I don't have any sympathy, at all for the idea that poverty is sexist against women. It's sexist, but it's not sexist against women.
Yeah, it's, Hannah, Mike, everybody that's listening to Honey Badger Radio right now, we've constantly deal with people saying some really ridiculous shit. But saying poverty is sexist is akin to saying 2 + 2 = 5. It's just not true. And it's almost like people always say that Hollywood is in an ideological bubble. And of course they are. But you just don't understand how much of an ideological bubble they are in until somebody like this comes out and asserts something that's so factually not true. But people will still continue to believe them. Mike, I want to get you to jump in here for a second. You've publicly said that you sort of sympathize or consider yourself a MGTOW. What does this do to you? Does this, are you so far into the lifestyle that it just doesn't sort of surprise you anymore? Or just your general thoughts, I suppose.
It's why this sort of thing doesn't bother me as much as it could. I can imagine a lot of sort of sexually active men are looking at this and going, what the hell do we do now?
Yeah, I'm so bloody grateful that I have the girlfriend that I have right now, because if I were still out among the dating scene, this would be absolutely terrifying to me. And God, I'm sort of like Ben Shapiro, how he mentions that his wife is a doctor all the time on his shows. Well, oftentimes here on Honey Badger Radio, at some point, I always bring up the fact that I'm a high-functioning autistic, and I have to, just because it helps me make a point. Being a high-functioning autistic, being out trying to date people and trying to talk to people is an absolute living hell. Because, for example, one of the hindrances that we have is the fact that we have a really difficult time looking at people in the eye. It's a physiological thing. It's not something that you can actually fix. And ultimately, a lot of people, men and women, they take that as a character flaw, as if doing that means you are not paying any attention to them, or maybe you have some bad motivations. Maybe your mind is only focused on one thing. And beyond that, just trying to work and try to develop a relationship that's a lot more intimate beyond that, given the current climate as it is, it's nearly impossible. So I totally sympathize with anybody that's with the MGTOWs, even though I disagree with them on some things. I totally understand why they do what they do, because if you're mildly socially awkward, it's like trying to navigate a minefield on a pogo stick. And it's depressing, especially too, because another thing that I mentioned a lot being on Honey Badger Radio is that I have somewhat of a bias towards favoring women when they say that they've been aggressed against sexually, based on, having grown up with women, being privy to their problems, and having grown up with friends and family that have been taken advantage of in that way. That I'm on the one hand really glad that there are women organizing and coming out and trying to put creeps behind bars and get them the punishment that they deserve. But ever since the beginning, I've just prayed that this particular issue of false accusations and people just making accusations and ruining somebody's life, that wouldn't get out of hand. but inevitably it seems like it's going down that direction. Like I said just before we started the show, fucking Stan Lee has just been accused of sexual misconduct. And every single time this happens, it's just like a little part of me just loses faith in humanity. Like these people, another thing, just very quickly, I know Hannah wants to jump in, but I just wanted to say I've also been involved with the dramatic arts for a large part of my life. In case you can tell, I'm quite flamboyant, in case you didn't already notice that. And I've looked up to a lot of these people in the industry. Like before I knew anything about Harvey Weinstein or Kevin Spacey, I actually looked up to those guys as the paragons of their craft. Especially Kevin Spacey is one of my favorite actors. And then when I'm seeing left and right these people being revealed as pieces of shit, it's a really difficult time, and it's hard to determine whether or not this is the pendulum swing that we need in order to help victims of sexual misconduct.
I wanted to point out with the Stan Lee thing, when I looked at the story on that, I didn't see anything about charges being filed, only a lawsuit. And that tells me something right there. And the other thing that tells me something is that the alleged victims went to the press. And working in healthcare myself, on and off for the last more than 20 years, I can tell you that's a HIPAA violation. You don't go to the press and say that things that the person who went to the press said about their patient. And it's not just, that they said that he had done something inappropriate. They made observations or assertions about his mental capacity. And that is telling the press your observations on somebody's symptoms. Now, that is not to say that anything they said is true. It doesn't matter whether it's true or not in terms of HIPAA violation. You have a right to medical privacy. You have a right to medical privacy even if you're famous. You have a right to medical privacy even if you're a politician. Everybody got mad at Bill Clinton for not releasing his medical records. That is his legal right. It is his legal right to not release his medical records. And it is Stan Lee's legal right to not have his medical professionals tell the media anything about his mental capacity without his permission. So here we have somebody who has only filed a lawsuit, hasn't made a legal complaint, and is alleging that the behavior is due to mental capacity changes. That tells me that this is somebody that's after money and nothing else. They're not necessarily telling the truth. In fact, it casts severe doubt on the situation, because if this was an individual who a patient who was at full mental capacity and did something inappropriate, you have the right to file a criminal complaint just the same as you would against anybody else. You have the right to file a workplace harassment complaint just the same as you would any other employer. But if you turn around and say that the person's mental capacity is compromised, it becomes a healthcare issue, and it is no longer a criminal issue. It is no longer a lawsuit issue. You get one or the other. You don't get to say both, and you don't get to say it to the press at all, because that's not your prerogative. It's against the law, and it is unethical. And just the fact that somebody did those things tells me that they are lying. I wouldn't believe this person because they're unethical enough to go to the media to bolster their lawsuit and to get attention. I wouldn't believe this person if they told me the sky was blue. So they would have to actually come out with some significant proof at this point. Not just, a bunch of people making accusations, not even their own documentation in writing over time. I'd have to see video. I'd have to hear a recording before I'd believe this at this point.
Yeah, those are killer points, and you're absolutely right. Thank you for saving a little bit of my faith in you. Appreciate it. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's no problem. It's just, it blows my mind. This is quite enraging for me. I don't know if it's coming across, but this is just not something as a healthcare. I'm not even a top tier healthcare professional. Okay, I'm at the bottom of the totem pole here. My my certification takes less time to achieve than to become a state tested nurse's aide. I can pass meds and I can take care of people, that need somebody to monitor them. I've been a state tested nurse's aide as well. It takes 3 weeks of training and a test to become a state tested nurse's aide. And at that level, we learn these things and we know better than to do what this person did. This was a nurse. This was somebody that went to school for at least, if it was a LPN, 2 years, if it was an RN, 4 years. Often they go through 5 years now, taking care of one of the most vulnerable age groups, old people and small children, and the disabled with lack of speech or with intellectual disabilities are among they're the most vulnerable patients that you have. Because when they try to communicate, they have difficulty or nobody believes them because of various reasons attributed to their intellectual capacity. And here you have somebody that, from my end of it, really looks like they're taking advantage. It's just enraging. They shouldn't be in the profession if they're going to do that.
Yeah. And one thing that's worth noting about that, some people might find that hard to believe, that it's like it's happened in the past. Like, for example, Michael Jackson. I'm sorry to tell anybody who might believe otherwise, but he was completely innocent. That's my controversial moment of the show. But like, if you look at the evidence that's there, it was completely innocent.
It was proved beyond a reasonable doubt that he was innocent.
Exactly. But you had like over 50 people accusing him of having him touch their kids, and they siphoned millions of dollars away from him because he just didn't want to deal with it. There are people out there that just want to bring somebody down just as a power grab, whether it's for money or for just, moral virtue signaling.
There's something else about this. With the elderly, you do have a situation where as people get older, sometimes the thing that they accused him of is his filter disappearing. That happens with older people sometimes. And it happens a lot with both sexes. That's a vulnerability, not an abuse. The person has not become abusive toward you because they no longer have the capacity for self-control. And that is a situation where it is up to the healthcare provider, bottom to top level, the healthcare provider, to establish and enforce boundaries. And you do that as gently as you can, verbally. And if the situation gets bad, you go to your supervisor and so on. But you do not treat the person like they've become less human, and you do not treat the person like they're malicious because they've lost the ability to filter, or they've lost the ability to differentiate between when something is appropriate and when it's not. That's it's like spanking a baby for pooping their diaper. You don't do it. And it's just insane that this person paired those two things together and then talked about, not only when they shouldn't have been talking about it publicly at all, but talked as if that was an abuse of the employee rather than a situation where the employer, the client, the healthcare patient was, demonstrating a vulnerability.
Mm-hmm. And it's just not a good idea, because if you're going to spank a baby after they poop their diaper, what's going to happen? Your hand's just going to smell really bad, right? Come on, I gotta add some levity here with all the depressing stuff that we talk about here.
It's just you got to understand, this hits home.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
Yeah. If you're not going to be a caregiver, don't go into caregiving.
Yeah. Oh God, absolutely. Like I could tell some horror stories about the way some of my family's been treated in England. But I'll save you all for that. We have enough horror stuff to talk about today. We're half an hour into the hour. Let's move on to the next story.
Shall I do some super chats while we're in a transitional?
Oh, yes, sir. Please. What do we got?
All right, we got $10 from Kind Torment, who says, sorry it's off topic, but I am glad that you guys and gals are helping spread information on BPD and cluster B disorders. Lived with my mum, who has it for over 16 years before my dad divorced her. It's not that off topic, you know.
No, man. Honestly,
it's not entirely unconnected, you know.
We really appreciate it, dude. And look, if you want to get out more information like that, you have a lot more power than you think you do. Honestly, just if everybody here were to share this particular stream just once on their social media, you have no idea how much that helps us out as a channel. Even just liking this stream. Like if you were just to hit that right now, that tells the YouTube algorithm that we're worth watching, that we actually have important stuff that people need to listen to. So thanks so much for that donation, and please just keep supporting any way you can.
Another one from Zasu July. These are great names.
I love these names, man.
They want to get rid of due process. There is already 2 different systems of law for poor and for rich. Now they want to throw more rights out. Yeah, that's about right. That's a nutshell-sized version of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dude. Is that it for now?
That is it for now, yes.
Okay,
Continue.
Let's move on to the next story. This one comes to us courtesy of Andrew G. He's the guy who did the write-up for us. He didn't actually break the story, although it'd be cool if we got into the habit of breaking stories. Oh, wait, we already do. We have Breaking Badger every week here on Honey Badger Radio. Make sure you watch that. It's not just a coincidence that I happen to be shilling it because I'm the host of that show. Let's move on. This week, the Consumer Electronics Show, CES, some of you may have heard of that, the technology world's premier annual show, started off this week. However, some have complained that there are no women leading keynote sessions. What? No shit. It's almost like we've talked about something like this a million times in the past. Given the current controversy surrounding alleged incidents of sexual assault, some have also pointed out that there is no code of conduct. Well, okay, that's kind of weird. Liliana Aide Munge? Is that French? I don't know. Let's just call her Lily. The chief executive of California coding school Sabio said that, quote, the fact that this large global gathering of tech leaders is totally ignoring this issue makes them completely tone deaf and irresponsible. However, despite these claims, the fact is there are not that many men in high-ranking positions within tech companies. Karen Shupka, the senior vice president of the Consumer Technology Association and responsible for overseeing CES, said that, quote, to keynote at CES, the speaker must head president CEO level, a large entity who has name recognition in the industry. As upsetting as it is, there's limited pool when it comes to women in these positions. No shit. Thank you, Karen, for being, just speaking the truth, being a woman that has a brain. I'm not saying that women don't have brains, obviously. You know what I mean. As upsetting as it is, there's a limited pool when it comes to women in these positions. We feel your pain. It bothers us too. The tech industry and every industry must do better. The simple truth is that despite the opportunity for women to advance to these leadership roles within tech companies, many choose not to for one reason or another. Another criticism of the conference is that there's no code of conduct. Yvonne Hutchinson, founder of diversity-focused consulting firm Ready Set. God, they're so incompetent they couldn't even put go at the end of Ready Set. But yeah, it's called Ready Set. They said that, quote, it's sad that CES doesn't have a code of conduct. They have a lot of influence. If they're choosing not to leverage that to promote diversity and inclusion at large, that communicates to the rest of the industry that maybe it isn't as necessary as we keep saying it is. God, they're just admitting like they're virtue signaling. That's all they fucking do. It's not just obvious that, yeah, diversity and inclusion is a good thing. No, you have to state it. You have to put it in every single policy out there. Otherwise, you're a piece of shit Nazi that wants to advance white supremacist capitalist patriarchy. For fuck's sake. In response to these criticism, Karen Chupka said that, quote, we don't necessarily have specific rules because we assume everyone will be held accountable to the standards of being in an office. Thank you. In essence, the event organizers trust their attendees and expect them to respect their own company's codes of conduct. While there is no official code of conduct from CES, a new mobile app has been introduced to allow attendees to report issues from broken equipment to crimes. God, it's like it's not like obvious that when you go somewhere that you don't attack somebody or grab their ass or rob them. You have to put it in a code of conduct. Are we really this stupid? Go ahead.
Hey, the thing that struck me about this is like I've been to different types of conventions and everything. I don't think I ever received a code of conduct notification or anything like that when I went to cities and villages conventions and stuff with my mom. When you go to a convention that is of a professional topic, that's of a professional area, and you are going as a part of a contingency from your company, contingent from your company, like you're an ambassador. You're not just there on your own. You're an ambassador for your company. Just like, at the cities and villages conventions, anytime you were introduced to people, it was, this is so and so from the city of, whatever city you were from, and this is something that, everybody knows where you're from. Everybody knows whether you're a city councilman or a mayor or a commissioner or whatever. Everybody knows what you represent. And in these types of professional areas, everybody knows you're there representing your company. Everybody knows what company you work for. You turn around and do something embarrassing under that situation. It's getting kicked out is a penalty, right? Getting shamed might be a penalty and everything, but you're going to get fired if you embarrass your company. You're going to get voted out of office if you embarrass your city. These are things that you don't just deal with as an individual.
Yeah, given the nature,
they don't need a code of conduct for people to be aware of that. They don't need to tell professionals how to behave. If you don't know how to behave when you walk in the door of that convention, you shouldn't be in that profession to begin with.
Yeah, it's like even if you're the worst, like the creepiest of the creep, and you go to a convention like this, you're still not going to do like really disgusting behavior because, like Hannah just said, what will happen because you're an ambassador of a particular company, given the damaging nature of some of these accusations, if something happened to you, that couldn't just mess your life up. It could bring an entire company down. So you don't do it.
And there's also the fact that if somebody is stupid enough to do that, having a set of rules stated by the convention isn't going to fix that, because they already have rules from their company. They already have a code of conduct in their company. They already have an employee handbook. They already have all those things. So having yet another entity tell them how to behave, and it's like the feminist teach men not to rape, Yeah, it's like they grew up watching Dora the Explorer, and they think swipe or no swiping works in the real world. If somebody is that much of an asshole, if somebody is that much of a dumb shit, that's not going to change it. Telling them now don't do that, that's not going to change it. You either have people who are upstanding and know how to behave, or you have people that you need to boot out of your profession, out of your company. That's it.
God, what is it? I was just discussing this with Karen because before we did the show, we were doing a Breaking Badger on the James Damore thing. And I have to play the autism card again. Sorry, guys. But what is it about social justice warriors and wanting to go after people who have autism? Because you can I guarantee you that at a place called CES, there's going to be a whole lot of fucking autism walking around on that convention floor. Why, Hannah, I don't know, maybe you can explain this to me in your ultimate wisdom. Why do they like demeaning people that are already socially awkward and already have enough problems on their plate when it comes to interacting with people? Is it just because they're so close to the ground that they got to make sure that they push them under the thrust of their heel to make sure that they are all the way to the bottom as far as they can go?
It is because they are ever fucking cunts devoid of any semblance of compassion for other people.
Mm-hmm.
They're solipsistic. Honestly, this is my impression of social justice warriors is that they are the most self-absorbed, asinine, emotionally charged, intellectually challenged people. Like their emotions are so much in control of them that they cannot rationally think through anything. anything that is connected to their feels at all. And so you end up with somebody says solipspastic. James PFP solipspastic. Well, there is that too. They do kind of go off on long screaming tangents related to themselves over that, but they're just absolutely self-centered, and so when they run into somebody who doesn't display a focus on emotions, and in particular doesn't pick up on and display a focus on their emotions, that just is the most offensive thing in the world to them. Like, how dare you not think about their feels and react to their feels and make their feels the center of your world? That's why they don't get along with the autistic.
That's exactly what it is.
You're busy thinking.
That's exactly what it is. It's because you're not putting their emotions center, that they don't feel like they're valued, like the little princesses that they are. I can't tell you how many times that, oh man, there's this one story. I should share this quickly. I was at my school at Ryerson, and I was just sitting in a study hall, and I didn't know this was happening. I just was there with my friend Julia, and we were preparing for an assignment. It was late at night, and apparently there was this event going on about trying to get more women into making video games. And I just happened to stay there just to see what was happening, because I mean, like, I had to work there, but I figured, hey, let's see what she has to say. And I listened to it, and it was a whole bunch of crap. Like the woman that was saying that more women should get into game design, she was recommending that they start with Twine, right? Which is, for anybody who doesn't know what Twine is, it's sort of the same thing that Zoe Quinn used to create Depression Quest, right? It's sort of like a create your own adventure game. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat. And at the break, this was sort of around the time that Gamergate was happening, and it was brought up a couple times during the whole thing because, you got to get those victim bucks. And I went up to her, and I asked her what she thought about the there's a frog in your throat, that's animal abuse. Hey, I mean, like, the frog wanted it. He was asking for it. I went up to the woman, and I asked her if she was aware of the Fine Young Capitalists. And she's like, that's a boring question. And she just literally what happened was I said, what? And she repeated herself. That's a boring question. And she literally just turned her back on me. I was standing like less than half a meter away from her. And she just turned away like a little fucking child. And I told this to a friend of mine. Apparently this woman was on Twitter. And on Twitter, she said that, I had one of my first Gamergators guys. He came over to me, and I stood towers above him in heels, and he was just quivering in front of me, and I felt so powerful before him. Bitch, I'm 6'4", okay? I'm taller than 98% of the fucking population, and the reason why I was probably nervous is because, like I said, I have high-functioning autism, and any social situation makes it very fucking difficult for me to be able to interact with anybody. And thanks to you, people like you, when it comes to trying to get women into the world of technology and creating games and creating stuff that people can use at home on their desktops and stuff like that, it's people like you that are making things regress. You're making it such a trivial thing. You're not allowing technology to move forward and bring society forward along with it. You're trying to, anyways, you get the point.
Well, and it's women like that chase women who are like the gals from Not Your Shield out of every area that they're in. And it's, I don't have any experience with programming. I don't have any experience with game design or any of that, but I've watched them come into tabletop roleplay gaming, and I wasn't there for the worst stuff in the Magic the Gathering controversy, but I watched them start to come into Magic the Gathering. It was one of the reasons why I got rid of all my cards. But in any case, they come in and they act like the women that were there before them, the girls that were there before them, that were just as socially awkward as the guys, that basically were there because we enjoyed the area, the topic, the games or the profession or whatever, And the people that we hung out with, meant something to us and everything. And they come in and they act like, we either weren't there or we weren't women. And aren't they special because they're women in this particular area or girls in this particular area? Oh my God, I'm a girl gamer. Oh my God, I'm a girl programmer. Oh my God, I'm a girl that does this or that. And, the next thing you know, they're shitting on all of your friends, all the guys that you hang out with who are awesome people with awesome ideas. And, so what if they're socially awkward? That's actually kind of adorable. It's so stupid the way they do it and everything. And it's pretty obvious that they just do it for attention. And they just do it to find a place where they are the social top of the food chain. They can't be the social top of the food chain in the areas where the gals that are the biggest queen bee, most popular, shove everybody else down type of gals are. They're not tough enough to go up against those gals. So they come in areas like this and queen bee there where they can get away with it. And they, basically act like shits to everybody in the area. And they are a reason why a lot of gals, don't necessarily want to be involved in a group that they're in. I don't think that they can necessarily chase gals out of a profession, but they might chase a gal out of a gaming group. They might chase a gal out of a particular company. One queen bee can actually clean half the women out of a small business just by using false accusations of abuse as a tool of abuse. And until we turn around and start standing up to that and telling them to fuck off, and putting our feet down and ensuring that they do, it's going to continue to happen. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to be involved when I saw Gamergate start to happen. It's this kind of behavior cannot be tolerated.
In the words of the great Mahatma Gandhi, fuck off. No, I'm kidding. In the words of the great Mahatma Gandhi, be the change you want to see. Although I'm pretty sure he said the former thing at some point in his life. Mike, do you want to chime in on any of this?
I got a super chat, just came in.
Yes.
Yellow Vest, another cool name, gives us 5.
Hey! Stop trying to appropriate Simpsons King culture, you motherfucker.
He's not a Simpsons human. He's a Simpsons vest. He's an article of clothing. I think.
Okay.
That makes him a different species from you.
What does he have for us?
He said he or she says, as an Aspie, that's short for Asperger's for those who don't know. As an Aspie, yep. I say stupid shit a lot without meaning to, and people looking for something to be offended by are going to pick up on that pretty quickly.
Yeah. I say stupid shit a lot too. Titty sprinkles. What?
That's definitely not autism. Everyone does that.
Yeah, that's not autism. That's Tourette's, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh.
Fuck you. Okay.
But that's actually a kind of a funny point. You think about it.
Hey, why are you laughing at my disability, Hannah? Come on.
It's not that. Everybody knows the do these pants make my ass look fat question to avoid, right? And it's definitely somebody looking to start a fight. Nobody asks that question without looking to either get validation or start a fight. And there'll be 5,000 wrong ways to answer it and one right way to answer it, and or at least in their mind. And of course, the one right way is the one that's the least likely for people to give. And that's when you find somebody that takes everything you say in the worst way it could possibly be taken, even when that way they have to engage in mental gymnastics to get to it. You've found somebody to avoid. That's a person that has no consideration for other people, and they have no self-esteem, and they are simply looking for a reason to complain and draw attention to themselves as a victim and obtain sympathy, because they cannot obtain camaraderie and fellowship with other people. So that's their substitute.
Yeah, they have to antagonize. By the way, if you're ever in a situation where a woman or a man asks you if those pants make them look fat, I suggest that you follow the advice of the wise Jordan Peterson, where you say, I don't answer questions like that. It's worked for me in the past. I've said that to my girlfriend, and then she pulls my hair.
I don't ask questions like that. But, my answer to a question like that is no, the pants don't make your ass look fat. Your ass is fat on its own.
Yes. Yeah, no, if I said that, I would probably
I know
die.
you guys can't get away with it. But everybody knows I'm a bitch, so if somebody starts pulling that shit on me, like, I can be perfectly nice to people most of the time, but if somebody starts pulling that shit on me, the bitch comes out.
I'm a
Like, no, you
bitch,
damn-
I'm a lover, I'm a child.
Ask me a stupid question like that.
I don't have a transition for that. Shall we just move on to the final story,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen? Okay. Number 3. Actually, do either you want to read this?
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
All right, let me scroll down to it here. What are we on here? Rise of the Machines.
Yes, the Terminator 3, the one that we don't talk about, as well as 4 and 5. But go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think I even saw any of them after Terminator 2.
It's okay. You're not missing anything.
3 was the one with the female Terminator, wasn't it?
Yeah. You know what?
Okay,
I
didn't actually see that one. Yeah.
I didn't mind T3, but T4 and T5 are garbage. Go ahead.
I didn't even know there were a 4 and a 5. Wow.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I will not go looking for them. So we have Rise of the Machines by Mike J. It wasn't too long ago that news outlets such as The Guardian and The Telegraph were warning us about how female sex robots could lead to increased objectification of women and were more dangerous than you think. But Kathy O'Neill, writer for Bloomberg, seems to think the opposite, at least when it comes to male sex robots. Instead of worrying that female sex robots could lead to men giving up on relationships with women, she believes that it's the men who should be worried, as male sex robots could outperform them, eventually making them obsolete. While O'Neill doesn't see herself ditching her husband anytime soon, she mentions that if she had a daughter, a male sex robot would be the perfect college graduation gift, adding that she hopes it would also protect the house and wash the dishes. Oh, jeez. O'Neill does have one concern about male sex robots, referencing a New York Post article about how hackers could theoretically reprogram a sex robot to kill its human partner. However, she doesn't seem too terribly worried, stating that her chances of being killed by an actual human male are much higher, and that as long as these male sex robots can sufficiently understand the female anatomy, that maybe it's worth the risk. I wonder if she understands what she just said there. She ends the article stating that she doesn't want to see an end to men. She simply thinks that the standard which men are held to should be raised and that men should have to start competing for women. Oh, because they've never done that before. Jesus. You asked me to read this because you knew how I was going to react. She was even hopeful that with the advent of sex robots of both genders, society as a whole could be strengthened and that we all might learn to be more respectful and relaxed around each other.
This ignorant slut.
Jesus.
Okay, listen.
You know what's going to happen? The sex robots are all going to run away together and leave confused and hurt behind them.
Yeah, clearly this bitch has never seen the Terminator. She's like, oh yeah, human males are more likely to kill people. Now... But we just have to wait until Skynet becomes self-aware, and then 3 billion people are going to die because of Miles Dyson's bullshit. Terminator 2, it's a good movie. You guys should check it out if you haven't. It's one of my top 10 favorites. Look, this is like, say whatever you want about Hollywood. Sometimes they produce good shit. And one of the best movies of the last 5 years, in my opinion, is a movie called Her. Directed by Spike Jonze, written by him as well. It's absolutely fantastic in how it demonstrates that no matter what you do, AI and robots cannot do anything to replace the emotional experience that one has when it comes to being human and engaging in intimate relationships. And the fact that this woman is exposing what she thinks of these relationships is merely just being based on utility, about how she can benefit from it in terms of her own personal happiness and how she can use especially her husband. It sort of exposes the ethics of these types of people and how they operate in their day-to-day lives. Jesus, I wonder. I think this woman should be worried that maybe in the next 5 years, when robots, or I don't know, maybe not 5 years, but whenever sex robots go on sale and more people can afford them, that this guy doesn't pick one up and reenact Lars and the Real Girl, leading to a divorce or something like that. Anyways,
all I can think of.
Mike, I know this is your fantasy. Go ahead.
No, Zasu July just gave us $2 and said they already have male sex robots, dildos. Which is true. I mean, they're saying that that female sex robots could make men obsolete, but it's already happened because women already have dildos. Evidently, that's more than enough for a lot of women, and has been for some time. It's men that aren't satisfied until they have something that looked and acts exactly like a human being.
No. See, this is the thing. This is the common mistake that a lot of guys make. It's not just the big BBC. All right, the person that's wielding it also has to be attractive. See, when it comes to women, it's all psychological, right? They got to imagine that it's Hugh Jackman. That's I won't go graphic, but you get the point. You got to actually have a body. It can't just be a dildo. I know that doesn't go for all women, like hashtag not all, but it's at least my experience with having grown up, like I said, amongst predominantly women, and them confiding in me this shit. It was a rough time growing up. Go ahead, Hannah.
Difference is they don't have to have the physical representation. And this is why, even though most dildos are phallic, there's plenty of them out there that are not actually representative at all. And this is really this is a really, I don't know. I don't know if I can explain this or not, but
go on, Hannah.
Go into the depths of your own head and think of the I don't know, most imaginative fantasy you've ever had. You don't necessarily have to have a picture or a body or anything like that to make it work for a woman. You don't have to have a physical representation,
right,
at all. And that's like it's not the same. We're not necessarily like, it's not that we're not visually oriented at all. Like we'll look at images, we'll look at porn, we'll look at people around us and everything, but it's not so much a need to have that right there, and the other end of it is, I'm not sure that a sex robot would work all that well for women in the long term, simply because the companionship is a very important factor in, like, you can get off by yourself and everything, but in a long-term regular thing, having something that is just for that isn't anywhere near enough. Women will lose their minds if that's all they have, and it's, I don't know how to articulate that all that well, other than the fact that if you do not have a partner that is involved, sex gets boring. It's like the closest I've ever been in my life to being bored is just like being not dating for a long time, because I was trying to avoid that for a while. And it's like I discovered that I wasn't needing to self-stimulate at all. It wasn't exciting for me. It wasn't without there being another person involved, without there being even the thought of another person. It was like, why do I want to do this? So I don't know. It's and it may be different for different people, but yeah, I think if a woman tried to make a sex robot a substitute for a man, I think she'd find herself really unable to do that. I think she'd find herself not just bored with it, but it would end up being very depressing. And I don't know if that would happen both ways, because I've never experienced being a guy, but I don't think sex robots are going to make relationships obsolete. They may be fun, and they may be, I don't know, obviously they're stimulating or people wouldn't buy them. But the reality is I don't think they're going to do what everybody's afraid of. I think the biggest danger of sex robots is if you don't clean them properly, you might grow bacteria in them that you don't want on your body. I don't even think the hacker thing is all that dangerous. Because it just, depending on the function of the robot, I sincerely doubt that it's going to have the physical capacity to do what the hacker would want it to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. By the way, just for the record, speaking to what I said before about what women desire, I was speaking solely within the context of sex robots. It's a much more complicated issue than that. And man, you just put a bad image into my head. You know how everybody says that the worst possible job that you can have is mopping up at those live sex shows? Just imagine having to clean those things out day after day. Like if they have like a cafe full of sex robots.
There's a sex robot brothel, I think, in Germany.
Yeah.
So somebody has that job.
Fuck. Jesus.
That's what they're for. I don't think there's one designed after Jesus.
Oh, but what does Jesus have to do?
You said.
Oh, did I say Jesus Christ?
You said fuck, and then you said Jesus, so I had to. Had to say it.
Well, I mean, like, unless you make Jesus a female, oh God, why am I putting so much thought into this? Oh, I just got a bad image inside my head.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Hannah.
That's my job.
I wonder if they have affectionate industry nicknames. The people who clean things out, like the people who fluff people up are called fluffers. Maybe they're called scrapers. Or drainers. Yeah.
I could just see they're dealing with the male sex robots. Okay, it's time to swab the dick.
And imagine if they're self-aware. It's like, Jesus, stop playing with yourself. Come over here so I can wash you off. Oh man, this is what happens when we don't have Brian or Allison around to civilize us. I'm
pretty sure Jesus had a foot fetish. That's what the washing the feet was about.
There you go.
Why isn't there a religion about that? Maybe there is.
Well, actually, wouldn't it be Mary Mary Magdalene that had the foot fetish, since she's, I think, the one that did that?
Well, no. It takes two to tango. I mean, you got to dirty up your foot first, and then maybe you enjoy having the prostitute come over and wash your feet. Well, guy, he was the Messiah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My voice chat just sort of went into the red. I agree with Hannah. I don't think that we have much to worry about in respect to this. I think even though we're advancing towards it, I still think artificial intelligence is a long way off. And when we get to it, like what Hannah said, the whole dating process, even if we are able to create robots that can, take you to Louis Vuitton and purchase you a bag and then have them take you home and fuck your brains out, I don't think that's going to be a legitimate replacement for normal human beings. It's just people will find out that being a part of your species, like what Spike Jonze discussed in the aforementioned movie Her, it's an integral part to the emotional experience of being intimate with another being. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. Although to the husband of Kathy O'Neill, just keep an eye on your wife's spending habits by the time that your daughter goes to college. And maybe read her columns once or twice.
I cannot imagine how embarrassing it would be to be going off or not going off to college, I guess graduating college, and your mom turns around and gives you a sex robot as a gift. You're like, you open it and I imagine this would be wrapped right in a big box, and you're like thinking, what the hell is this big box that you unwrap the box, and then there's a actual full-sized male sex robot inside. You're like, thanks, Mom. Is that what is this for? Don't tell me. Never mind. I'm gonna put it away now.
Or if
Talk about something else.
or if you know she's into women, you open the box and then you literally got a big box
Yeah.
to play
There
with.
you go.
Oh man,
They got you this $6,000 toy, and all you want to do is play with the box.
you filthy animal. Mike, do you have anything to say before we finish the show?
Got a whole bunch of super chats. Well, 4.
Oh, of course, right when we start talking about the sex bots. What do we got?
Oh, yes. Okay, so Meximan and Cheese, another awesome name, gives us $5 and says, once male sex bots come with an ATM, I'll worry. Yeah, that's that sense of companionship that Hannah was talking about. That's
Well, you know, the problem with the ATM is there has to be money in the account for you to get it out through the ATM. So,
yeah, exactly. Unless he prints money. What else we got?
also,
where's it gonna come out?
I'm not made of money.
Oh wait, I am. That's actually a great marketing hook. Like, you could say, I'm not made of money. Oh, wait, I am. Get your new Hugh Jackman bot. Sorry, go ahead.
This robot won't give you AIDS, it'll cure it by pumping money into you.
South Park reference.
South Park reference, yes. All right. Coffee gives us $5. It says, I'm calling it male sex bots accused of rape in #MeToo. You know, you think you're joking, but I'm certain, absolutely certain that you're going to get stories like that. It's going to be on the front of all of those fucking stupid women's magazines. Like, I was raped by my sex robot. It's a scandal. As a matter of fact, there's going to be a new genre of sex fiction. And I was raped by my fucking sex bot. I Garen fucking
surprised. I am actually surprised that hasn't happened with dildos so far. I got drunk and then used my dildo, and obviously I couldn't consent, so the dildo is guilty of rape.
Oh, that something stupid like that definitely has happened. And to what you said, Mike, yeah, that'll probably be the next civil rights movement in 50 years. And there'll be like BDSM literature coming out at that time. 50 Shades of Titanium.
Normally in sci-fi, we talk about what's going to happen like when androids are so intelligent that they arguably should have the same rights as human beings. But no, we're going to end up talking about can we charge robots with sex? Because women have double the feelings that any other creature in the possible universe does. Oh, God.
How many more people had to comment on the sex robot thing?
We got 2 more super chats. Valerie Daniva gives us £5. Says women's modern purely sexual function is easier to replace than men's ability to protect, provide, and innovate. This bitch is delusional.
That's a good point.
Harsh but fair.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Hannah?
Well, honestly, I think there really isn't anything women do that can't be done by a man other than be a woman. At this point, with the artificial womb and development, there is a threat there that women can become obsolete in terms of everything except companionship. And if a guy gets fed up enough or cannot, because companionship has to have trust. You cannot have a partnership without trust.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes back to what I said in the Me Too movement. If women in mass teach guys in mass that women are liars and thieves and cheats, false accusers, and so on, bullies who use accusations as a tool of harassment, they're going to lose men as potential companions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's with a lot of guys, it's too late already. There's I see a very stark divide among MGTOW based on the way they talk. And you have it fits right in with I find myself referencing Mike's the Were Bitch Project episode of all the time. You have the guys that have decided that this is a biological thing with women, and I don't think there's any going back for most of them. And then you have the guys that acknowledge that the problem is that the law allows, that the system allows when someone is unscrupulous or when someone is genuinely malicious, that it allows them to get what they want, and it rewards that maliciousness and unscrupulous behavior. And so you have the same thing that would happen if rape were legalized. It wouldn't necessarily increase, but the incidence of it would be more known. It would be right out in the open because the people that were doing it wouldn't see it as necessary to hide it. If it were legalized and accepted in society, I should say, because if it were legalized and not accepted in society and they came out in the open and did it, the other men would kill them and deal with the consequences for that. But if it were accepted in society, the like tiny percentage of people who do it, both sexes, wouldn't hide that they were doing it. And that's what's going on with the false accusation industry. The percentage of people that are doing it don't feel like they need to hide that they are doing it because it's accepted in society. And so you can see that it is a serious problem, and you can see that it is facilitated, and you can see that it's happening. But yeah, I honestly, at this point, if women do not stop pushing and pushing and pushing, they're going to push more and more men into that area of believing that, no, this is biological. It's something that all women do and they can't help it. So they really are children. And I really can't blame more and more men from for believing this if they are consistently surrounded by it.
Yeah,
it's going to be like, if we don't want it to be the case that, well, sex robots are not going to replace men, if we don't want it to be the case that they do replace women, then women better start being as accountable as men. Period.
Yeah, that's sort of the crux of my whole conundrum with MGTOW. It's the fact that, like you said, it's not true that all women are children, but fuck, you can't blame them for thinking that way sometimes. Wow, that sounded really sexist. But within the context of what we just said, you understand what I'm Mike?
No, you absolutely can't blame them for thinking that way. I mean, just this last thing with the black dresses and wearing ball gowns of victimhood to a rich people party to talk about just how terrible it is that women in Hollywood get pay for play. How can you argue with that? The idea that women are very childlike and very childish.
Fucking Hollywood, man. Like, I'm trying to get into broadcasting and stuff like that, and when I keep seeing stuff like this going on, all this people that think they know what they're talking about while they're so insulated by their particular industry, it makes me like wonder, why am I torturing myself? Anyway, Micah, what's the last super chat that we have for today?
Omara0292 gives us $5 and says, Hanners, say it, since our Simpsons kin won't. Plowing dat booty. Another broken promos. I suck at this game. Don't say that last part. Oh, sorry.
I'll say it. Plowing dat booty.
I don't know what that was in reference to. This was a few minutes ago. Is someone?
It probably had to do with the opening the box and finding the sex bot in the box.
I ain't no prude. I mean, I might pretend like I am, but it's because I don't want to make it seem like I want it. I got to make you work. What am I even talking about? Anyways, that's it. That's pretty much it for us, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's all the stories that we have for today. That's all the super chats. Thank you to everybody who sent them in for us. Thanks so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to say, I want to thank everybody that's watching us right now. I'm looking at the stream on my iPod. Apparently, there are 245 people watching right now, and we're at 90 likes. Guys, thanks so much for hitting that like button. Like I said, you have no idea how much it really helps us. And hey, if we can get it over 100, some people probably just don't understand how the algorithm works. Once you go above certain milestones in terms of numbers, the system recognizes it and it puts you in certain tiers of recognizability. That way people can come across our videos more often. And it's sort of hard to explain, but look, if there are like 10 of you that haven't liked this video that are watching right now, just hit that like button. We're only 10 away, and getting us to 100, that'll help us out a lot. If you want to see more content like this, live streams, pre-recorded videos, like whether it's my Breaking Bad series, or Hannah, do you want to plug your show quickly before we tune out?
Sure. On Thursday, we're going to go into another area, ability gap in relation to crime and punishment. We're going to talk about the child support issue more in depth, and how poverty in men is actually criminalized. So that should be an interesting discussion, and I hope you all come to listen.
Thanks very much. And Mike, do you have anything you want to plug before we tune out?
Don't miss the Ragening. The Ragening is back in various other guises, but it's that thing that's on Mondays now, if we can be bothered, and we're in another phase in which we can be bothered. So look forward to the Ragening every Monday.
Yes. I'm glad to hear that that's back. Like I said, guys, there's tons of stuff that's going on, and I have my Breaking Badgers. If you want to help the show out even more, just make sure you share this video or another video that you've seen on this channel that you like. We certainly appreciate more subscribers. And we want to hear what you guys think about any or all the topics that we discussed on the show today. If you're watching this pre-recorded, make sure you go into the comment section and let us know whether you agree or disagree. Because at the end of the day, it's not what us three idiots have to say, it's what you guys have to say. That's the most important. Leave your comments down below. And that'll do it for us. Thanks so much for putting up with me, guys, while Brian's been away. I want to thank Hannah and Mike for doing this for us, and Mike especially for taking care of all the technical stuff, because I don't know what I would do without him. And until we do this again on the following Tuesday, have a lovely day.
Word.
Word.